Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the URC, and these games are very important as we are a part of the last round in the United Rugby Championship. The top 10 at the moment still have a chance of making their way through to the quarterfinals, although in a couple hours' time, a lot of those uncertainties about who has a chance will now be confirmed. So pretty much, Cardiff, they need to win this game, and if they don't, well, you could argue they just need a bonus point, just at this very point in time, to be able to make their way a little bit further. For the Stormers, if they win the game, they guarantee their spot in 5th, and they will play either Glasgow or the Sharks in the quarterfinals of the URC. But like I said, for Cardiff, they need some points here, or else they could end up missing out on the next round. In terms of the lineups for this matchup, first of all, looking through at the Stormers, it is Sitole Dweba and Nedeling Fauché as the front row, Selma Moura and JD Schickerling in the locking duo with Ewers, Nell, and Marcel Tennyson slotting in. As the number 8, Herschel Yankees alongside Marnie Libok, who is back at number 10. Now, that is a little bit of a curveball, I guess you could say. They've actually gone with Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu making his way off the bench in this match rather than starting. But Libok, he's been waiting patiently for his chance to be back into the side. They've also had a bit more of a reshuffle in the rest of the backline. That includes Damien Valimza making his way to number 15, Similani and Dan Duplessis making up the midfield, and Lelion Zas and Hudson Berg as the two men out on the wing. In terms of this Cardiff lineup, they've got Josh Adams out on the right wing, yet we hardly saw him in the last matchup. He tried every single part of him to try and get into this match, or at least that last game, and just never really did. So you wonder whether or not this one will be different. Now that the stakes are even higher, that the chances may be lower for Cardiff, they aren't able to get any sort of really big type of performance here. But in the 4-pack, they have gone with Talupe Falatau in the starting lineup, rather than making his way off the bench with Mann and Lawrence as the other two in that loose forward trio. The combination of Davies and Sheedy really has to do well if Cardiff do want the chance. In terms of the chat, we have got the hello to all. Says Robert, will this band show the game? Sadly, due to licensing, any match footage or audio gets you taken straight off YouTube with a copyright strike, but I can tell you exactly where to watch. If you're in New Zealand, TVNZ Plus. If you have a VPN, if you set yourself to New Zealand, then you will be able to watch it through TVNZ Plus as well. With this game involving a Welsh team, I believe S4C might have it if you can set yourself to a Welsh location. And I would say about those three options are your best bet in terms of the free-to-air ways of doing it. In terms of paid subscription, of course, Super Sport and all those type of ones are available. We have got the hello to all. Says Robert, good evening from Cape Town. Says Jeremy, welcome in. And the Marnie playing again. Sai says ARC. That's the thing. Like, Marnie Libok, you wonder, like, I get last week, Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu, it didn't really matter that he didn't have his greatest performance ever. I think a lot of people would agree that compared to the weeks prior, he was a bit flat, a few aimless kicks down the field. Perhaps this is the way of the coach saying, look, yes, you're a talented youngster, but every once in a while, you know, if you do have a slightly worse performance, even if we win, we have to rotate the side. And I think Libok's heading overseas next year anyway, so it means that Sasha will get plenty more time in that starting lineup. But the bench of the Stormers in this contest looking extremely strong with that half little switch with Sasha Feinberg as the number 22. Ben Loader also is in the starting lineup. So this is also, I guess you could say, about the preservation of the players. You know, you don't want to lose too many guys to injury at this stage of the comp. Definitely not someone like Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu. The Stormers will be looking at this game as one that, if they win it, ideal. But if they don't win it, but they still need to be slightly close, as you can see in terms of the overall standings. But either way, they're facing Glasgow or the Sharks. Either way, they're away from home. So, yeah, it might be a little bit more of a case of a slightly, I guess, more balanced performance from the Stormers, not going all-out attack, but they can stop Cardiff from making their way through. We have got there, thanks Sebastian, always with Kiwi Lads Commentary, and hi Roof, hope you're well. Says Seb there, will Munster qualify? Pretty much, in terms of the way that the table sits, they are going head-to-head with Benetton in only 2 hours or so's time, and they need the win. Whoever wins that game between Benetton and Munster confirm their spot guaranteed through to the next stage of the comp. there is a chance that Munster can go through even if Cardiff, or even if they lose, and that is if Cardiff lose by a lot and Edinburgh lose by a lot. But that's pretty much the only way. And that's pretty optimistic to just rely on a couple other results. So yeah, the win is the safe bet to say, yep, we're through. And then in that regard, no matter what, there's someone below them in Benetton. Now, Cardiff, if they got themselves a bonus point win here, and Munster did not, that's when it can get a little bit more tricky. But I believe no matter what, it would still mean that Munster at worst can finish 8th. But there are certainly a few curveballs that could still happen. And this comp should be a one-way ticket for money. LeBuck says Bruce. Hello, Jeremy from Mossel Bay. Says Dylan there. And also Munster will win, says Patrick. And there, I'm watching Stormers game at Golden Oldies in Belleville, says Samuel. Yeah, hopefully it is going to be a very entertaining game. Last week, I mean, the Stormers, they're one of those teams that every once in a while, they flip a switch and they can be outstanding. And their game up against the Dragons, a little bit of a slow start to the matchup. 48 points to 12 in the end. So, you know, even though they got a slow start, they still won by that massive margin. In terms of the Dragons, though, I don't think they pushed the Stormers as much as we'll see Cardiff. Although saying that, Cardiff in their last game really never found that next gear that they were after either. So these are all the results from the last round. It probably would have been easier if I just did it that way, but 45 points to 21, the score for Cardiff. They were forever chasing that game, and it's just what you can't afford to do here up against the Stormers. They have to apply the pressure early. It's for their chance of going through to the next stage of the competition. So you got to go caution to the wind. Yes, there'll be a couple times where they maybe have to make the decision of is it worth risking conceding for the sake of scoring. And I think that if they look through at what happened last year with the Lions and the Ospreys who were fighting for that 8th spot, they have to decide that that's worth the risk. And if you concede, you concede, but you'd rather have that chance of scoring than missing out. Your score prediction, very hard to say what we're actually going to see from this Cardiff side. If they come out firing, they can be a dangerous team. We've seen them away from home get a couple good wins, but we've also seen them be lackluster at times, and I feel like this is one of those games that it could easily go either way. When the Stormers hit their flair, there are a few teams that can rival them. Exactly right. Like when they find their rhythm as well, the Stormers can just go back to back to back with tries, and they pretty much just run away from their opposition. Stormers need to not give away silly penalties, says Ruth, and she's going to work for my star match, working 6 to 8. Easy €80 will pop in to check score in this game every now and again, and meant Munster. Says Patrick Beer. You have to add only if you play in South Africa, says Eric. But now they are just showing the starting lineups once again, only probably 2 minutes away from the kickoff, so we might as well do the same. This is the Stormers side. The big news of the week is Mani Libok makes his way back into the starting side after being absent for a number of weeks. The limbs are also having a little bit of a shift. He's gone from 12 to 15. I wonder how that's going to work for the Stormers backline, whether or not that Lebok and Valimza combo, which of course had some success at times in the past. Whereas for Cardiff, they have decided to make a few changes themselves. I believe about 5 they have just mentioned. I think that it's definitely Talupe Falatau who could make the difference in the loose forward trio here for this Welsh side. And then Cameron Winnett. I want to see a little bit more from him. Same with Hamer Webb. I thought he did pretty well last week in the game up against the Bulls, and then Josh Adams there at number 14 as well. We have got, and there seems like we're going to have a better crowd here tonight than lot this morning with the Super Rugby Pacific. Boring bunch, says Bruce. Sounds like you're just trying to start a fight for the sake of it, Bruce. Gotta love a bit of negativity from yourself. And Cardiff is 2 weeks. He's outlawed. They can be, but they are also a side that can't be underestimated, because every once in a while they come out and play an absolutely phenomenal game and everyone goes, where was that? And they kind of do it every 50% of the time. They had a poor game last week, which means maybe they could come out and absolutely fire. Yeah, okay, then I like you already, says Samuel. And come on, the Stormers do it for Munster, says Sebastian. And we have got their Crusaders, yes, back to super form, says Ruth. And there as well, but they are just showing, I believe it's going to be Is it Hartzenberg? Yes, it is. Making his way out of the tunnel. It's going to be his 50th cap for the Stormers. Does extremely well out there on the wing. Out on the other wing today, Lelion Zas, 2 try-scorer machines in this matchup for the Stormers. I'm still curious to see how the scrum goes. I mean, we're seeing the return of Nedeling Foucher. It just seems to be one of those times at the moment for the Stormers out there, losing players flat out. Big loss with the departure of Cornell Hendricks. Grew up here in Wellington, Western Cape. Says Bruce, the big news of the week, of course, passing of the 37-year-old Bulls great. And leading out the team here, Selma Murat. And thanks, you're looking wonderful again. Thanks for your lovely commentary. And even from Cape Town, South Africa, Hamish, says Tommy Tank. Yeah, we've got plenty more of the URC as well, all taking place tomorrow. One of the matches is Sharks versus Scarlets. That's to determine whether or not the Sharks finish above Glasgow in the overall standings, in which case they would book themselves a spot in the quarters to play the 6th-ranked team. And then the other game that we are going to be doing is the match between the Bulls and the Dragons, I believe it will be. Which could just be one that really secures the Bulls' second place as well. Now let's go to the Stormers. I'm tired, says Drape. And for every Stormers try, free beer on the house, says Samuel. I'll see whether or not they can bring up close to that 50 points like they did last week. And now are ready to go for this matchup. It's going to be Nicky, the referee in charge of this one, the Italian. He's had quite a few jobs to do in South Africa so far. We're almost ready to go, though. Will be Cardiff kicking off from right to left in this contest. See whether or not the Stormers can continue their winning ways. If they do, they finish 4th. And we have to give a huge shout out to Arania Hamish, says Gerhard. Yeah, big shout out to you, of course, Gerhard. Been here week in, week out. The Italian job, says Sebastian. That's going to be nicely done by the Stormers just to get this one set. Of course, some of the big news of the week was the fact that Evan Ruiz left out of the Springbok alignment camp. He's also been left out of this Stormers side completely. Come on, it's only 7:03 p.m. Friday night. Says Roof, that's going to be a nice take around the halfway line here for Cardiff, who will look to strike early. And it is Davis. Back across to the right-hand side. It's going to be rolled back, and it looks like they are actually going to go for a box kick here. Quite early on in the match. Definitely with the position on the field, and he's only kicked that one about 3 metres forward, but it's well taken by Josh Adams, who's already touched the ball just as much as he did last week. We're only a minute in. Italian ref, Cardiff had no chance. Benetton must go through, says Eric. Now back across Davis. Sheedy just looks a little bit stuck at the moment in terms of this attack for Cardiff, but they just need one big break, and instead they're actually going to go for the kick in behind. It's going to be shaping beautifully. Goes into touch. I think it will be just avoiding the 50-22 as it was taken back, but a very good gain of territory for Cardiff there. Why was Roos party boy and late for practice? Says Rehash. No idea. I thought it might have been something injury-based, but then it could also be the fact that they're just resting him, same as what they're doing with a few of their other players, trying to have them fresh for the URC round of the quarterfinals. Now nicely thrown in by Dweber, and it is claimed now by the Stormers. Marcel Tennyson trying to charge forward and have a bit of a run, but instead just slips in the process. That one is going to be kicked high. And that is going to be another penalty. And this time it is for obstruction. Any comments on the Springbok selection for the next camp? No idea, to be honest. I think that Rassi has shown with the fact that he picked a guy from the Varsity Cup, he doesn't really follow rules. And he'll throw in a few curveballs, I would think. It's great to see Tichuka. I do have to say, like, that man's been working hard for his residency for a long time. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not he does get that chance. That was a bad decision there from Talupe Faletau. Just changed his line in the chase. And we have got there, good Lord, it's hectic 3 a.m. and Sydney, and that's going to be a not straight line out from the Stormers. Joseph Weber just can't quite get it in as straight as they require. What are the chances? 3 South African teams in the top 4? 0% is the gist of it. Like, there's no way for the Stormers to catch up to the top 4. This is the table. As you can see, 8 points separating the two sides with 1 round to go, which is this round. But the chance of 3 South African sides making their way through to the next stage of the competition at the moment is... Well, the thing is, it's not actually 100%. Because if Cardiff won this game with a bonus point, and then the Scarlets... no, it would still be just 100%. But only just. There is actually a chance the Stormers can finish 8th in the rankings, but no matter what, they will not miss out. So that is good news. They're pretty much safe, which is why we've seen the slight switch in lineup too. But there is a chance of a South African derby coming into the next one. Rus has a small injury. That's why he was not considered for this game, says Johan. So thank you very much for that information. Is that also why he wasn't in the alignment camp, or is that something else? Because I know that's been the big player that everyone's talked about missing out. Welcome there, Hi Hampshire Rugby fans. 4 minutes into this contest already. You know, ACDC very much impressed, says Gerhard. Let's go to the Stormers. There's LFG there too, but Davis feeds the ball, and that one didn't come out as cleanly as they would have liked, but it does find the hands of Talupe Falatau. A little bit of accidental obstruction there from Ben Thomas, but I think they said it didn't really impact it. Being told to use it again, going off to this left-hand side, finds Kieran Azarati. Now, once again, rolling this back for Davis. They did a very nice kick before into the 22 in this game, Cardiff. And the longer they can keep it to 0-0, the better chance they've got. Although we've also learned from last week when the Stormers were playing the Dragons, it's not so much about how you started, it's how you finish. And the Stormers just seem to find that next gear in the second 40 minutes. Another little knock on, this time from Nedeling Forshare, which does mean that it will be another scrum for Cardiff. So at the moment, we are just playing Scrum Simulator for these two sides, home for the Bulls to win the URC, says LFG. And they're setting themselves up quite nicely to be able to do so. Now, at the end of this round, we will, of course, know who they're playing in the quarterfinals. But at the moment, it looks like it's going to be one of 4 teams. And that is either Scarlets, or in fact, no, sorry, it's between 3 teams. Well, it could be Scarlets, actually, to be fair. So we'll say Scarlets, Benetton, Munster, Cardiff, or Edinburgh. One of those 5 teams, I believe, will be the Bulls' opposition. Like I said, if somehow we get a few curveballs throughout this round, it can actually be the Stormers as well, which would be a bit of a brutal South African derby. Now, feeding the ball in. Penalty goes the way of Cardiff. They actually looked like they were going backwards in that scrum, but it's due to a push on the angle from Sitole. And hey, all long time no see, says Wemar. Welcome back. If you have been keeping well, we're just about into the playoff stages of all the competition, so you probably picked the perfect time. When is the next episode of Rugby 25? Honestly, I had forgotten about that series. Me and George, we recorded one a couple months ago, but at this stage, we still only have just the one. So I think I was working on the theory once we recorded more, I'd release it, and then the game never really got any better, so it's pretty hard to convince them to come round to play it when it's just not a fun experience at the moment in terms of the gameplay. But yeah, maybe soon, if they have a couple more good updates. Henry has said, what's up, Hamish? Good to join you again. Welcome back. If you have had a good week so far. Martin Libok with a great cutout pass straight into the hands of Hudson Berg, who brings up his 50th match in this contest. Inside ball to Herschel Yankees. Now Dweba passes across to Marnie Libok. Damien Valimza trying to find a bit of a gap, playing from 15 in this contest, eventually dragged down by the Cardiff defender. Now Similani managed to score the first try in the last game up against the Dragons. I will be Bulls' Munster in quarterfinal at Loftus, says Eric. So there's a lot of confidence that is what it's going to be, but it's certainly a possibility. And Quartz Clown here in South Africa says loot for the black label. We looked for it last week on the live stream. Someone mentioned about it, but I couldn't find it at the local super liquor, as it's called here. And we have got there, not as far as I know, my family from Gauteng, says Rhea. Kicked high from Davis. At the moment, that seems to be the more frequent kick option is the up and under, whereas the better kick that he did was actually the one where he kicked it deep. So I don't know whether or not they will maybe try for a couple more of those longer kicks throughout this match, and maybe the reason they're going shallow is to set up for that big one over the top. But now Money Libok gets it across to Dan Duplessis. Ben Thomas makes the tackle. Libok again is the first receiver. Valimza looking for the kick in behind, wanting the 50-22, and that is a fantastic kick from Damien Valimza. That made it just maybe about a metre inside of the opposition 22, and it actually looked like they had it well covered. But it didn't matter. Got the kick picture perfect there for Damien Valimza, just rolling, and then just sneaks in. I think Cameron Winnett was trying to point to say, no, it didn't go out in the 22. We can go back to where he kicked it from, but no one was quite falling for that. Another maul here for the Stormers. They are sitting 25 metres out from the line. Herschel Yankees goes across to Dan Duplessis, who puts in the fend. Unable to bust through. Cardiff tackle. Now, pick and go from Marcel Tennyson. Has a little bit of a slip. Now offloaded out to Hudson-Berg. Dragged down. Good work at the moment from Cardiff. In terms of their defence, they haven't missed too many crucial tackles, but it only takes time. But now the Stormers should be at least 10 points ahead. Well, they weren't last week at the same stage of the match, so I don't think Cardiff have done too badly throughout the early stages, although they have left opportunities like this one. Nice inside ball going to Lelio Zas, and that will be the first try of the contest. 9.5 minutes in, and Zas does get it. And Cardiff need to win here, says Tyrone. They certainly do. If they don't win, though, they at least need the bonus point. That is the big factor for them. If they can get a bonus point, they can almost move into the top 8. If they get 2 bonus points for 4 tries and also being within 7, that would almost be enough to secure their spot, depending on what happens in that Benetton versus Munster one. I've had nothing yet. Good defence, Cardiff, says Ruth. And also we have got their Waka not working. That's because they got sued, didn't they? I think someone said about it last week or the week before that Waka TV were going to prison for illegally streaming or something like that. So that's probably why it's not working, because they are currently trying to avoid going to jail. That one's going to miss away to the side for Damien Valimza. And it is going to make the score 5 points to 0. And unplayed by Cardiff. Keep on kicking the ball to the Stormers. Yeah, I agree. I think that those shallow kicks aren't doing much for them at the moment, and they definitely need to look for those deeper ones instead. Davis just only getting a few metres in most of those kicking scenarios, and that's actually what led to the 50-22 coming back. Give us that scoreboard a nudge, please. I believe it has now sorted itself out. Now nicely taken by Selma Murat. Now sitting about 25 metres out. Doesn't matter. Bulls won't win the URC in the next few years, says John. And that's a penalty going the way of Cardiff. So managing to get one straight back but not releasing. I think that's Evan Lloyd, who has got in and managed to get himself the steal. Looks like they are going to kick this one towards the touchline. And that will be about 5 metres out. Good position on the field now for Cardiff to be able to fire back. Going to be even Stevens for the first half, says Roof, and Province, says Roger. Yeah, Lloyd just locking himself over the ball. De Weber going for the clean out alongside, I think it was Marcel Tennyson, and just neither of them could move Evan Lloyd. On the Evan Rus selection, there's been chatter for a while now that he isn't a good team guy. He has a bit of a toxic personality, or as he said often, he will not pick a toxic player, says Henry. It sounds a little bit like New Zealand and Hoskins Satutu, in a way. It must just be every once in a while a number 8 thing, is it? If not for themselves, the Bulls must do it for Cornell, says Winmar. Although that, of course, puts a lot of pressure on a team to be able to perform, because, of course, this game you would think they'd be struggling a little bit in terms of just being able to have a clear mind while playing. And we have got there John, I think that's FU from Gerhard, as our favourite Sasha Feinberg Zulu, or his favourite FM station on the bench. He is indeed. And thanks for the commentary, says Russell. No worries at all. The brain took a little while to kick in. It is currently still only 5:15 a.m. here in New Zealand, but I think we're slowly getting a bit more awake. Ready to put this ball in for Davis. Only be about 7 metres out from the try line here. And it has a massive push there from the Cardiff side, and they've managed to win themselves the penalty at scrum time. And Bulls have many decades to win the URC. It took them 11 years to win their first Super Rugby trophy, so lots of time left. Although you wonder for Jake White, a man who said that his pure focus is the URC, so he was picking slightly worse sides in the Champions Cup, saying we don't care if we get knocked out. So I think that for his sake, he really has to make sure that if they don't win it, they at least make it to the final. Just to be able to say, well, we at least gave it a really good crack. Now Davis, couple metres out, popping the ball up, and it's the try for the Cardiff side that will get them into the lead after the conversion. LaRue, beautiful. See you, Sebastian. And watching the URC games the weekend, Hamish. See you, Tommy Tank. We are planning to. We have got a couple of them that we will be covering on the channel tomorrow. Yeah, I think we've got 3 more live streams of the weekend. We're having a slightly lighter one this week compared to some of the others, and 7:16 p.m. here in South Africa, says Luke. They are just showing in the 14th minute. They have now got the picture of Cornell Hendricks up as well for the round of applause from the crowd. Game on. See, here's Robert Wood, and also there's some good confidence there by Cardiff. Yeah, first real attacking chance that they've had inside of the 22, and, it didn't take them too much to go through. They also managed to get themselves the penalty at scrum time, which I think is massively beneficial. 1 eye on the semis, 2 eyes on the cheeseburger. See, here's rehash. That is a nice try coming for Danny Southworth, I think it actually was, crossing the try line there. Big prop that doesn't normally get too many. Now, ready to kick this one off for the Stormers. Now be inside of the 22 and looking to run it back. What's that 22-metre line? Thank you, Eric. Says Rhea there. Now rolling it back. Davis is inside of the 22, so is able to find the touchline. That's a much better kick. And all that's shown is he can get distance on it when he actually wants to for Davis. And probably the only time Cardiff will be leading, says LFG. But that is still 1 time more than people gave them credit for. A lot of people felt like it was going to be extremely one-sided. Good point, Hamish. I wonder why Satutu doesn't get picked, says Henry. Yeah, and I don't think he helped himself after the selection by putting up an Instagram post of him posing. And he had hashtag most hated or something. So that's never going to get you in the good books of a coach who, you might have been on the verge of getting in his squad. I met Cornell here in Church Street once. We had a laugh, we'll never forget. Says Bruce, that one's going to be kicked high by Marnie Libok. Does go for the shallow kick. At least it was quite high, though. So it gave the Stormers half a contestable chance. And now they've managed to pick the ball up with Hudsonberg. Across to the left-hand side. Stormers with Selma Muruk. Gets it away to Ewers. We're still down. Cardiff need a turnover very soon or they're going to be in some trouble. Lelion Zas once again trying to drive down the wing. Close to the sideline, but stays in the field of play. Yankees back on the inside, having to try and roll away there, and the penalty does go against Alex Lawrence, or Alan Lawrence, I should say. And how's the stadium looking? There are a few people there. Still not quite the sellout for the Stormers, unfortunately, but then that's just been the gist of competitions around the world, or at least it has been for certain sides. But still, not a bad crowd for what will be the last home game of the year for the Stormers. And where are they playing? They are playing in Cape Town. And because the Stormers can finish as high as 5th, it means that, well, with the exception of if every single favourite got knocked out of the quarters and the semis, then that would mean that the Stormers would have a home final. But for the chances of that to happen are incredibly slim. So more than likely the rest of their games will be on the road. They may have another game in South Africa taking place not too far in the future up against the Sharks, depending on the way that the rankings sit. Sheedy having to make the tackle only a few metres out from his line. Alex Mann ripping the ball away and kicks it downfield. Awkward, bouncing one. Sits up now for Damien Valimza on the short side. Manages a step around one. Thought about the offload to Herschel Yankees, but couldn't quite get it away. 18 minutes into this contest, and the Stormers once again are attacking hard. Looking for that gap back across to the right-hand side. Big shot on Similani. 22 metres out from the line. Back across to Marcel Dennison, tackled by Azarati, but managed to free up the hand. LeBoc with the sell of the dummy almost through. Tackled by Thomas. And Sharks win third, I reckoned. They've got a very good shot of finishing in that third place, mainly because of what we've seen from Glasgow over the last few weeks. They're playing Leinster in their final game, so that doesn't exactly make it any easier for this Glasgow Warriors side. Although, as a side, if they make it into the semi-finals or the final, they've got some history last year of being able to cause those upsets. So I definitely would still keep a little bit of an eye on them, but it's something at the moment's not quite working for that Glasgow side. Salman Murat, tackle 25 metres out. Look for the offload of Mani Libok, and there's just a little offload there. Or sorry, a knock on, I should say. It does mean now that the scrum feed will be in favour of Cardiff. About 25 metres out from their line. Cape Town Stadium and Greenpoint, beautiful place, are right next to the Atlantic Ocean. So here's Ruth. And also, Damien Valimza very good tonight. Yeah, he's looking impressive. Whether he's in the 12 or the 15 jersey, he just seems to have found some terrific form. Now, my biggest concern, and I really don't want to jinx this, is he was in great form last year at this exact time. He was doing well, and then just the injuries, or in fact, it might have actually been the gap between the URC and the November internationals. Just before the selections, he ended up going down with that injury that kept him out. With Valimza is such a huge asset to Stormers, brilliant. There's Ruth, yeah, fantastic player, great vision as well. That's one thing that he brings to the Stormers backline. Yes, there are a lot of guys in that side with pure pace, but Valimza seems to be able to really show the gaps that they can run through. Be a decent crowd by the looks of it for this matchup. Quite a few schoolboys as well in the stands. Are those? Oh, yeah, the Varsity Cup. Sorry, I was about to say, are they schoolboys? Because some of them have beards and they look like they were about 30. But yeah, Varsity Cup, of course, the next stage after the schoolboy stuff, and one of the varsity players actually getting selected for the Bok alignments squad. Are you allowed to be front of the penalty kicker? Our hooker walk past LeBoc towards the sideline. LeBoc kicked afterwards. You are if you're the hooker, because of course you're working on the theory the ball goes out. If the ball doesn't go out, then you of course have to retreat. But you're allowed to make your way towards the line out. It's to do with the fact that they're trying to speed up the game a little bit in terms of the scrums and the lineouts, mainly just, it takes a few seconds off the clock. It's not a massive amount, but it can add up in the game. Kick downfield, nice one from Cardiff as it goes towards the sideline. Hudsonberg with some quick stepping right next to the sideline. Valimza kicking it downfield. Cardiff, once again, claim it just outside of their own 22, and it's going to be put high. Chasing after this one will be Winnet. And doesn't take it cleanly. Will be another knock-on advantage against the Stormers. And we have I prefer Loftus Stadium where the blood is spilled, says Luke. And they can manage that play, making anywhere on the field, says Ruth. Yeah, going up for that high ball alongside Cameron Winnet, who, to be fair to him, Winnet did almost, he almost won it, but just knocking it out of his hands. Okay, they were actually going to give Cardiff So they've said there it's a knock-on by Red. I think initially it was going to be the knock-on from Damien Valimza first that they were looking at. Straight away, referee goes over to Herschel Yankees and says, look, when I'm doing my job, you shut your mouth, is the gist of it. But will be the scrum feed for the Stormers. And nice weather for rugby in Cape Town, says Julian. Yeah, looks like a very nice kind of evening game. So if I was seeing 38 tackles made by Cardiff, they've missed 7, whereas the Stormers, they've made 19 tackles and just missed the 1. So half the tackles made, but 7 times as many missed tackles for Cardiff in this match. National Yankees ready to feed this ball in. They do have a few options here. They could go with Marcel Tennyson off the back. Although I think it's also important that they just get this ball out of here because, oh no, they do get themselves the penalty. Once again, a push on the side from Cardiff. Now, one thing about this referee I will mention is at scrum time, he loves saying that the front rows go on the angle. He did it in his last game and the one before that as well. He loves a scrum penalty. So I think both sides will try and use that to their advantage, but also they'll know that if they push it too far, he may actually look and go the other way. Also heard that Ruas has terrible battle stats, fewer involvements and doesn't do dirty graft work. Same thing with Nahamba. Andre Combrink from 10 years ago. Points on the board, that counts. Come on, Stormers, says Bruce. You're currently still down by 2. But of course, plenty of time to play in this contest and on the verge of finding another break in the line. Hudsonberg, 22 metres out from Cardiff's line. Yankees finds Ewers. Again, Lebok just trying to find that next big pass. Hasn't run it as much as we normally would see from Sasha Feinberg Ungumezulu, playing more of a distributor role here in this matchup. And they have certainly got plenty of guys could score those tries. No advantage at the moment from the referee. He just said that the ball went backwards. Ewers tries to bust his way through, but he's tackled low. And Alex Mann tried to get that steal. He managed to get one earlier on. Here's another run from Hudsonberg. Steps around the fullback, and that will be a try in match number 50 for Hudsonberg there, and he's just put up the 5-0. And where is Rus? He dropped from both Box and Stormers now. Well, he's got an injury from the sounds of it, which is why he's not playing for the Stormers. But out of that Box side, it sounds like Rassi doesn't like some things about Evan Rus. And whether for Brian Colbert, says Ruth, and boom, Stormers, says Ruth. So now their second try of the match. Of course, bonus points are probably more crucial for Cardiff from this game. But if the Stormers were to somehow lose this contest, having a couple bonus points would be massive for them as well. Of course, for them to lose from here, something really bad would have to happen. But then saying that, they're only up by 5, and that can easily change. Go Cardiff, says Luke there. I will mention in an hour's time, Edinburgh are kicking off up against Ulster. And if Edinburgh win that, they will actually make their way into the top 8. So still a little bit on the line. Another no defence after all match, says Eric. Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle for Cardiff. We've seen 8 missed tackles for them in this contest who kicked the conversions. I believe it was Marnie Libok did strike that one. Now nicely taken by Lilian Zas, and whoop goes Stormers, says one Beer Bosch. They are inside of the 22, so they will be able to kick this one towards the sideline. It's out defence classes by Jean-Claude Van Dam, says Ruth. And now, oh, good shot coming in, and the pressure was well and truly on. Stormers force another error from Cardiff, and it allows them to have the line out about 43 metres out from their line. But yeah, no room for Cameron Winnett to work with whatsoever. A brilliant kick downfield from Yankees if the goal was to keep the ball in the field of play. He gave the big thumbs up as well to the original kick. The Bock is back, says Julian Moses. They are just showing the live standings. The way that it is at the moment, Cardiff, with a bonus point, would make their way inside of the top 8. But that can, of course, change quite drastically too. There's still plenty of movement that can happen Oh, knock on there from Alex Mann. I don't know how that wasn't called by Niki. Going to be kicked in behind by Cardiff. Eric, believe it or not, Amish Terminator commentator. And Labok says Wenmar. Oh. Now Hamer Webb manages to slap it back. He's had quite a hard landing there. Might have slightly winded himself. And straight away gets back up and tries to have a chase of the ball. But Limsa thought about the kick instead. Just lures in the defence and gets it across to Similani. 13 minutes left in this first half. Johan Needling for Shear goes across to Dweber. Oh, almost chance to steal that ball in the breakdown if it was up to me. If a scrum half touched the ball with his hands behind the scrum, I assume you're going to say it's counted as playing the ball and you're allowed to get him. Now, back across Yankees. Going to the right-hand side. Labok linking up with Valimza with the wide cutout pass right over the top to Hudsonberg. Grubbers here. A lot of pressure once again on Cameron Winnett. Now, I've shut him down early. He's really had no space in the last couple of games. And it was up to. I'm trying to work out what that's supposed to say, and I honestly can't, so I assume you'll put it in again. At some point, Labok must concentrate, says Roof, and Stormers are going to win, says Rosinka. Kicked in a touch by Davis. The Stormers decide to take it quickly, though, on the halfway line. Labok now. Another cutout pass going away to the left. Chance for Lilian Zas. Bok has to play halfback. Dodges the referee. Gives it off to Needling for Shear. It's met by a big shot from Danny Southwork. And great commentary as usual. Best watch along on YouTube, says Simon. Thank you very much. And we are, of course, going to be back tomorrow as well with plenty more action. Another steal for the Stormers. Every time Cardiff think they've got half a chance, the Stormers just take the ball back, and that one's going to be grub it into touch, playing a bit of territory. Now becomes the line out for Cardiff. Do you think South Africa win? As in, like, the Stormers in this match? I think that they've got more chance of winning than not. They're just showing the road to the final. The way that it is currently sitting, it would be the Bulls versus Cardiff. So then it would be a rematch of the game last week. It would be Glasgow versus Scarlets, Leinster versus Benetton, Sharks versus Stormers. Now, of course, that is extremely subject to change. And a lot can change in that time. So I think at least 3 of those quarterfinals are probably going to change. As we know, the Stormers are going to win. But by how much? Says Bruce. And Stormers going to hammer Cardiff here, says Eric. At least they should. They're actually showing this big shot coming in from Southworth. It was shoulder on head of Needling for Shear. He was relatively upright. Box also has a number 8 as a defensive organiser, which requires higher work rate. Heads up rugby. Has his big moments with not much in between. So in that regard, the way that you've described that position, who's your number 8? Are you going with, once again, Visa? Or are you looking at a Cameron Honeycomb? Or are you going with maybe, I don't know who else to look at, maybe Pepsi put the, no, he's more of a playing 6 at the moment, isn't he? Because is Khaleesi going to be the number 8? Okay, this sounds like it's going to be a yellow card, and then if it's at full speed and there's a bit of steam on it, it will be a red. There's a bit of oomph in it. And I mean, at the end of the day, when 2 props throw themselves at each other, that's going to make a bit of a collision. Wow. Niki, the ref, has said, I don't see any mitigation. It's a red card for me, is what he said. And I think it's going to be a red. They've said there it's a definite yellow, which I don't think many would disagree with. But because there's no clear mitigation, they've said he's come at it with intent, and it's going to be a red card for Danny Southworth. Man, he scored not too long ago. He is disappointed. He apologises to Needling for Shear, but you can see how gutted he is with that decision, because we've got to remember this is Cardiff's game that they do need at least 1 point, if not 2 from, to save themselves in this competition. So he knows how crucial of a red card that may have just been. Unfortunately, Card nobody likes cards. If Stormers win here, then they go to Scotland to play Glasgow, says Eric. If Glasgow lose and the Sharks win, then yes. As red mean they're down for the whole game or just 20 minutes? I believe in the URC it's the full match, so he will be off the field for 52 minutes. And that side will be one man down, and that's pretty much, without sounding negative, Cardiff needed their 15 men out there on the field. So I think this is where the Stormers will just go to the next level and win this game by 30 now. And I would be surprised if anything other than that happens. And my pajamas now says Rozenka. Was it a red in your opinion? I can't see the game. I would say, it's a yellow, but I don't think it's a red. Yes, he came in with a bit of force, but there's much worse red cards out there. Congrats, Benetton. Ref, game over. Should have given a yellow card, says Eric. It does mean, of course, that if the Cardiff side don't get the points from this game, Benetton will go through. Almost. Very close to doing so. It might be months to miss out. And we have got there, now the floodgates will open. And good evening, everyone. Go the Stormers. Says Johan, welcome in. Harsh, says Ruth. And also, okay, cheers, says Drape. And there as well. Now, currently another 10 minutes remaining in this first half. It will be the scrum feed for Cardiff, just 5 metres out from the line. They've got an end-of-season sale going on for the Stormers at the moment from the looks of that. I agree with great JM. That red card should be 20 minutes. They're not off for the whole game, says CO. See, in that scenario, I feel like that's the perfect example of one that doesn't seem bad enough to be a full match off. Whereas in most cases, Jesus, bloke's got a big upper body. That's old Domachowski. I didn't realise how big the top of him was compared to his legs. He's got pretty solid in the chestal region, I guess you could say. Built like a brick outhouse, I guess you could say in the nice way. That's why the Sheriff, Eldrick Lowe, is excellent. They picked Visa, not related. They needed alternative organiser, Malharba Huaga Kolisi. It's a role that Vermeulen played. Red card for Cardiff Y. Was head-on-head in the process of a tackle. I think it was a yellow, but I don't think it was bad enough to be a red card in this scenario. It does now mean that Cardiff have got their backs even further against the wall. And we have got their, I don't mind, works in Munster's favour, says Sebastian. Now, another free kick, this time going to Cardiff, 5 metres out from their line, so this will be the chance just to boot this one downfield. They were trialling the 20-minute red. I wonder how far that is. So the gist of the 20-minute red, I believe, was Super Rugby still do 20-minute red, but I think it was the Northern Hemisphere World Rugby Board decided that they didn't want to continue with the trial. They felt like it wasn't worth doing, I think is pretty much the gist of it. So Super Rugby said, yeah, but we're going to still do it anyway because it makes sense. And then, yeah, not this competition as well as the European Champions. There's another comp, I think, that also does 20-minute red. I can't think of what it is. Maybe it's ITR or the Bunnings NBC here in New Zealand as well that I'm thinking of, but right, looks like Joseph Dweber ready to have this line-out throw. So far, we've seen 1-1 for Cardiff, whereas 8 won by the Stormers and 1 loss. So we've had 9 line-outs for the Stormers within 32 minutes. But it is claimed that time. Herschel Yankees goes across to Mani Libok, Similani. Trying to sneak through. Did you get sleep where you are? I managed to get like 2 hours sleep maybe. So not a massive amount, but it is the usual for the weekend. Nice kicker behind. Good football skills showing there. Oh, I don't know if Cameron Winnick got that one down. He's claiming that he did. Looks like the Stormers are celebrating it, but they will go upstairs anyway. It makes complete sense, given gives officials time to analyse the transgression. What's your take on Augustus as a Bocce? I mean, the form that the man has been in the North, like, he wouldn't look out of place, I don't think. I do think every once in a while, though, he has a few shaky games that he kind of shoots himself in the foot a little bit. Right, he's managed to keep the ball in. And Cameron Winnick tries to force it down. Does he do so? maybe half a finger on it, then there's one thing that's guaranteed, and that is that Lelion Zas was able to ground this ball. And dirty play, yes, red card, rest should be 10 or 20 minutes, and then heavy team and player penalties after the match. And Munster and Benetton going to be a hard one. Who you got? I think based off last week's form, you almost, like, Benetton look the real deal. They've said he's not in position for Cameron Winnett, so this will be the first of, I think, many tries that we see the Stormers score after this red card. Maybe they should consider having a red card level 1, high degree of danger off for the rest of the game, and then a red card level 2, moderate, low degree of danger, 20 minutes off, replaced by another player. Says Lily, although I think it's the tricky part with that is it's all down to how the refs see it. Like, a lot of referees would have seen that as just a yellow, but this referee in particular, he said, I see it with no mitigation. Whereas some would say, yes, there was a bit of contact, but there wasn't as much force as there could have been. Yeah, nicely done from Lelion Zas, just to pick the right time to go after that ball. Gets himself his second try of the match, and he was trying to get the crowd fired up too for the last home game. The season for the Stormers. Damien Valimza. In fact, no, sorry, I said Lebok was kicking earlier, but Valimza is the man who has got kicking responsibilities for today. Currently sitting 1 from 2. And game over here. Rugby loses, nothing to watch anymore. Says Eric, and that is a much better strike from Valimza. Brings it round. And the kick goes over, making the score now 19 points to 7. That's 6.5 minutes remaining here. That is 3 tries on the board for the Stormers, so they need just one more to be able to get themselves the bonus point. Just managed to finish it off. 2 go. The Stormers go. The channel grew a lot. Says Mac, we have been doing our commentary for about, I think it's 5 years now. So we've been here a while. We've done over 1,800. In fact, I think we're closer to 2,000 live streams at the moment on the channel across that time. Mani Libok getting this one high, 22 metres out from his own line. Does look to retain the ball for Hudson-Berg, but knocks it on high all. There's Richard there. Back across to the right-hand side, but Davis finds Dimachowski. In fact, this time it would have been Azarati. Back across to the right. They've got themselves the penalty advantage, so they will go back for it now. So Dweber going to help the man up. The referee was just having a little look at that one between Dweber and Davis. Dweber spotted the ref having a geese, so decided he better behave himself. Just showing the live standings. The way that it currently sits, because Cardiff are outside of the top 8, it does mean that at the end of the round they would finish 9th or 10th with this current scoreline. And I have a feeling for Cardiff it is going to get worse. Now, this is an interesting one. Nettling for Share actually making his way off the field for an HIA. So in that case, maybe the contact was a bit heavier than it looked just in first reaction. So, you know, maybe it was a red if you're going off damage done for Nettling for Share. I was here since the GTA 5 when that new update came in. I think that was 2020 or 2021. Yeah, back when me and George were doing the weekly updates on the entertainment channel. That was quite some time ago. I think that was the KO Perico heist, wasn't it? The one that we ended up staying up to a random hour waiting for it to come out. And Lebot could actually score a try here. 3 beers already down my throat, says Samuel. And how to watch this game live depends on where you are in the world. If you're in New Zealand, it's on TVNZ+. So that is a great option for you. If you are in South Africa, DSTV, I believe, are the only way of watching it, unless you set yourself with a VPN to another country. In which case, you could set yourself to New Zealand and watch on TVNZ+, or I think S4C have it in Wales, or at least they should. Yes, I've had contact, you must go for a head doctor, says Eric. Now 6 minutes still remaining in the half. Cardiff playing with 14. So the scrum just taking a little bit of time to get set down and ready to rumble. And we have got there 3 Bears, Castle and Lion, or Castle Black Label, or Carling Black Label, I should say, from Roof. And for Cardiff to have any sort of chance, they need to try now. Or at least within the next 5 minutes. They've got themselves the penalty. I'm making interesting for myself. Cardiff will come back and win by 1 point. If they do, I'll post a video on YouTube of wherever you people want. Says Drape. And I will not recommend Waka for sport. Well, you're going to prison, aren't they? I think a couple of weeks ago, people were saying about Waka TV and saying sign up. And now they've been done for copyright or not having licensing to be able to show matches or something like that. So I think there's a few people who are heading to prison in the near future. Augustus is great playing overseas, has matured him. In fact, he wasn't picked as an youngster after Under-20s World Cup, and the same is the same as Evan Ruiz now. Augustus took a couple seasons before becoming a starter. There's a strong possibility that this game is the very last URC game that BBC Wales will be showing, or will be showing a URC game. There's that little possibility, although the Scarlets, I believe, if Cardiff lose and Edinburgh lose, they will still be within the top 8. In fact, I don't think there's a way of Scarlets going outside of the top 8, is there? It's just more so where are they going to be reshuffled to? That is, of course, if Cardiff lose this one. But now, sitting about 13 metres out from the line here for Cardiff, trying to strike right at the end of the first half to Lupe Falatau. Been a little bit more quiet this half than I did expect. Made his way off the bench last week up against the Bulls. Had some decent moments, but just couldn't quite get it going. Lupe Falatau. Flowed there to Ben Thomas. Cross kick attempted here from Cardiff, and it will be the try out wide for Hamer Webb. He runs it round to try and make it a bit easier. Oh, little bit of afters there between David Ewers and the try scorer. That is a nice one there for Cardiff. Hamer Webb, the man who scores it. We have got there, it's on the URC website, says Richard here in Ireland. And in Wales, RT and BBC have lost the rights to show URC games, says Richard. They have gone with that kick across field and then just nicely claimed. Hamer Webb just made it that little bit closer. Okay, they're actually saying it is foul play against David Ewers here. Or maybe they are saying, maybe that was actually the other way around of because of the player diving later, it meant that David Ewers had a few rights to be able to go for him in defence optional tonight. Says question. I mean, that's only the Stormers' maybe 3rd tackle missed. And unfortunately for them, it's actually led to 2 tries for Cardiff. Oh, timed out. Took too long. Poor decision from Cardiff there. Okay, you got to feel for Callum Sheedy here. Referee told him about 10 seconds ago, you've got 20 seconds. And then the ref was looking up at the screen. So Sheedy thought that they were checking something. And he said, there's no shot clock. How am I going to know? Okay. So the ref said, there's no shot clock. We're going to discuss it later. But straight out in front of the post, Sheedy doesn't take the shot because the shot clock expired. So, you know, he's pretty unlucky there. Normally the ref would say, you know, I'll tell you when there's 10 seconds or 5 seconds. So Ewers dives on the player after he scores a nothing from the TMO. Nothing at all. But that's what Sheedy thought that they were checking, which is why he didn't take the shot at the post earlier. The shot clock stuff is stupid. It is. The fact that, you know, we've got a stadium that can hold however many thousand people, but apparently we can't have a timer up on the screen. Like even a rough indicator, you know. But does mean that Cardiff do remain with 90 seconds remaining in the half, 7 points down, but they could have been back within 7 had they been able to line up that strike. The way that the table currently sits, they are sitting in 7th. Of course, that can all change in an instant with the next couple of games. In fact, throughout the next 2 games that we get to see, Ulster versus Edinburgh and Benetton versus Munster, we have our top 8 confirmed after those 2 games. So in about 3 hours, we know exactly who is making their way through. Just who is playing each other is what's going to be undetermined. We'll discuss later. As a cop-out, that doesn't do Cardiff any favours. Yeah, like if they lose this game by 1 point, they're not going to want to have a chat about it later on. And I assume that at halftime, someone will have a bit of a chat. I'm trying to think, is this the same ref who about 2 or 3 weeks ago had a whole heap of controversy around some of his decisions as well? The ref's a love child, says Bruce. That one's going to be thrown in over the top of Talupe Falatau. Sits up for Cardiff. Benetton versus Munster going to be a good one, says Eric. Now, Talupe Falatau. It looks like it's going to be taken back by Cardiff. And it does seem like they're just accepting a 7-point deficit here going into halftime. I'm a Kiwi living in Oz. Says Drape. Right, they're just making sure with the ref that the clock is up. It deserves to be in the top 8. I think there are a few teams, like Edinburgh for me, what they did in the Challenge Cup would make me think that they'd actually go quite well in a top 8 position. Right, I think Sheedy's gone over and he's being the bigger man here and pretty much saying, look, it's happened now, we'll just forget about it. But that would be one that definitely stings for Cardiff. Definitely when you're at a man disadvantage for the rest of the contest, you need every point that you can physically get. And top 8 will only be confirmed tomorrow. Scarlets can beat the Sharks in advance. Says Johan, although Scarlets are still inside of the top 8 currently, aren't they? So Benetton or Munster can drop down. If Cardiff were to lose this game, then the only other side that can make it into the top 8 would be Edinburgh in terms of the outcome of this one. But if Cardiff can somehow hang on, they will go up that little bit further, although they won't be ahead of that Scarlet side, which does still mean either Munster or Benetton will drop off, unless, of course, they get themselves the bonus points too. And we have got their Munster going to win, says Julian. And we have got their no please don't, says Drape. And also we have their Eric, aren't they playing in Ireland, says Ruth. And Licker Johan, says Johan, in there as well. Currently halftime in this contest, 19 points to 12. Honestly, going into the second half, Cardiff may not feel like they've done terribly here. Like, they've got their red card, Editon Road, or bad on the road. So if at Munster they're going to lose, says Eric. Although Benetton also did get a win over a South African side in South Africa, didn't they, this season? Or that might have been actually in the Champions or Challenge Cup. And I Amish and Guy says 123 MS. So the home game is for Munster. So yeah, Benetton will be away from home for that contest. Last week coming off a big win though of 33 points to 7 over the Glasgow Warriors. And I Hamish, and also I'm impressed. Awesome, says Ruth. And there as well. Yeah, still some big matches to come in this round. So far we've got 4 quarterfinalists confirmed. Well, really, with this result, Stormers being within 7, it's pretty much 5. But in terms of the home finals, it will be a Glasgow home game, a Sharks home game, a Bulls home, and a Leinster home for what is coming up in the near future for those sides. Next week, I believe not a single URC team will be in action. I was just trying to think through, but both of the finals of the Champions and Challenge Cup are going to be an English side versus a French side. Zelensky on Yet, says ARC. Irish whiskey over Italian salami, pepperoni maybe, says Reuven. Stormers will win, says Ruzenka. They should do. Like, if they were to lose in this game up against a 14-man Cardiff, like, I feel like they would be extremely frustrated. Player of the first half, please. I mean, Lelion Zas got to be up there. He managed to score himself the 2 tries down the wing. And had some pretty decent moments. So, yeah, I'll probably go Lelion Zas without too much hesitation. But still plenty of time for a new man in the match to perhaps be crowned, depending on what happens throughout this second half of play. Okay, they're just saying about scanning a QR code. That might actually be for the Stormers merchandise. I did see that they're having an end of sale or end of season sale. And got to feed the dogs and reboot this device. Don't go away, anybody. says Bruce. And Hamish man of the match says Ruth. And there as well. We have also got there, Storms will take the win. That Benetton Munster game will be something. Says 17. Yeah, it's a massive shame that they're not showing it on TVNZ here in New Zealand because, like you said, it's going to be back and forth. I would think both sides really need that win to feel safe. They can both still make the top 8, but of course you'd want to get that victory just to really secure it. 63% possession at the moment in favour of the Stormers. In terms of some of the other stats, 84 tackles made by this Cardiff side, but they have missed quite a few metres made, 222 for the Stormers compared to the 57 of Cardiff, but Cardiff have still managed to score themselves 2 tries throughout this match. So I think that's a little bit of a credit to them in terms of the fact that they haven't had a huge amount of chances, but have still managed to get in and stay relatively close at the moment in this contest. It would be enough to get them inside of the top 8, but I don't think they can heavily rely on just the 1 point. I believe they are going to need 2 minimum. And I think Benetton will take that game. Says Fleshin. They are just showing that shoulder to the head of Niedling Fouchier. Yeah, they're saying it's a rare card and that it's unfortunate for him. And Stormers on fire. Quickly Ardenson back at Loftus. And also an injury not season ending, says Eric. And I think Benetton will take that game. And Cardiff look mean. They're going to give it a bang second half. And yeah, it's just whether or not maybe fatigue sets in a little bit. Seen them already have to make 87 tackles throughout that first 40-minute period. You'd assume that there are another 80 or so coming in the second half. They're just showing some of the highlights. Leon Zas was able to score twice. Hudson Berg was able to score the other. We're to watch for free with a VPN, says C at the Star. So one of your better bets is TVNZ Plus here in New Zealand. You will need your email to be able to sign up, but like it's not one of those ones that like charges or anything like that. It's just pretty much enter it to create the account. I believe it's also maybe on S4C in Wales, I believe is the way that sometimes these games are shown, although the commentary is in Welsh on that one normally. Head banging and clanging not allowed, says Ruth. And Seb has got that where to watch as well. So that will also be, like in terms of if you can't set yourself to New Zealand, you might be able to find another country that have it free to wear that you can set yourself to watch. The Buck, do something, please, says Ruth. See, my big question about TVNZ here in New Zealand is if a quarterfinal doesn't involve a South African side, I'd assume that they will still show it here in New Zealand, but that would be a little bit annoying if they didn't. I'm sure we'd be able to find it somewhere, be able to watch those games. And some of the sport channels on it is blocked per region of country, says ARC. Yes, some of them do limit who is able to get onto them. Just showing that cross kick to Hammer where BBC show Welsh teams live in the URC. Says Blession, do you have a favourite referee? There are a few refs who I think do a pretty good job. There are a few refs who, when I see they're refereeing a game, I get nervous. And I feel like, unfortunately for this referee in this game, he's one of them. It just seems to be that at scrums, it's a complete lottery. But, you know, we also saw the shot clock situation in this one, which didn't bode well for Cardiff. In terms of looking through, with the current score, it would be that the Sharks and the Stormers will play off in the quarterfinal. Waiting for FM patiently, says ARC. We will go like this. There we go. These are the benches. Scudder into Benny in that number 16 jersey. Matongo and Sunday, who already made his way on for Niedling Fouchier, who did suffer that head knock during that Cardiff red card. Corey Evans and Paul de Villiers alongside Paul de Vet, Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu, and Ben Loader, last man off of the bench. For Cardiff, they've got Hughes Dimachowski, who has made his way on. That was due to the red card that we saw earlier on in the contest. And then also Literick, Thornton, Botham, Thomas Mulder, and Jennings the last man off of the bench. But I'd love to show you next week's fixtures for these two sides, but the reality is they don't have them. We have got one more round of the Champions Cup, which is going to be the final. Same with the Challenge Cup final, taking place next weekend. And then after that, we're into the URC quarters the last weekend of May. We have got there Ben the Heretic. And we have got their lovely picture of that Greenpoint Stadium behind you, Hamish. I swear you're in Cape Town there. Says Ruth. Looks like a decent crowd. They haven't decided to put them on the top tier in the stadium. But I'd say there's still, I don't know what there would be, maybe 15 to 20,000 in attendance for this game. I would pause and try and count them all, but that would be quite a tedious process. I'd say that we aren't too far away from the second half getting underway. So do let me know your in-score predictions in this contest, ladies and gents. Who do you think is going to get themselves the victory here? Can Cardiff pull off what would be an incredible upset? Or will the Stormers be too strong and in the second half just continue to build and get themselves the big victory? I do think that Cardiff, heading into the second half, they can look at this game as one that they can get, even with a loss, 2 points from, or at least 1 point. Whether they're within 7 or whether they get themselves the bonus point. I do think that a bonus point is not off the cards for them. Sebastian Fleschen, get it together, you two naughties, says Ruth. Yeah, hopefully the rest of the URC games are going to be roughly this close. I feel like the last thing we want in the final round is a whole heap of runaway games, but there is potential that we could see a few of them being pretty one-sided. The likes of the Dragons game, I think that won't go too well for this Dragon side. I feel like they had their big game last week. I think it's going to be close, 35 to 33. Oh, so you're saying the difference between these two sides is going to be that timed out kick? And that one, it would be easier to count by family. 1, 2, says Trape. Yeah, decent crowd, which is fantastic to see. And it's just a shame that we don't get to see any more games for the Stormers, unless, of course, something really drastic happens, like I said, and they somehow end up with the home final around the corner. But they can't have a home quarter, and they can't have a home semi with the teams that are remaining. Or can they? Actually, no, they can have a home semi if all the quarterfinalists get knocked out. And a tip of Table Mountain as well, says Ruth. Marnie Libock still on the field. I believe the only change that the Stormers have had to make was due to that red card shot from Cardiff prop. So it means that Niddling for Share he had to make his way on. I think it will be a 9 to 12 point margin. In the end, says Kip. Probably not a mile off. That's the thing. I think everyone knows that if the Stormers go and they play extremely well in this half, they could probably win by 30. But if they don't find their rhythm and Cardiff stay competitive, like you said, it could be under that 15 points, if not maybe a bit closer. I'm going to be kicked off. Cardiff trying to claim that one, and it's gone through the fingertips, but goes into touch. I think they're trying to ask for being played in the air there. Referee says no, and it will now be a Stormers line out again. They will only be 25 metres out from the line, so a good position on the field to be able to attack from. Like they've just said, not the start that you want in a half when you're down by 7, conceding the ball straight away. Oh, no, Niddling for Share is actually out there on the field now, I do see. So he passed his HIA, which is great news for the Stormers as they have lost a fair share of props throughout the season already. Hamer Webb alongside Sheedy managing to hold up the Stormers, trapping the ball in there. Oh no, now is available. Now Yankees change of direction. Cross kick attempted from Marnie Libock straight into the hands of Nell out wide. Now 10 metres out. Urshel Yankees, good hands from Setole. Caught the ball behind him and cheers, says Johan. And Welsh need to get some momentum, says Roof. And the last thing that they need at this point in time is to concede right at the start of the half, although that is the way that it is slightly shaping up. Back across to the left-hand side again here for the Stormers. 10 metres out from the try line. And morning, you lads, everyone. High says Spider Meg now quick hand. Similani trying to shovel it on. Was a forward pass, so they will go back for the original offside. And cheers from Cape Town. Says Ruth. Looked like for a second the Stormers were actually tempted to go for the quick tap. But instead, they've given the ball to Mani Libok. Right, the Stormers have a decision to make, and it looks like they're taking a little while to make it. They've called for the scrum. Looks like there was maybe a disagreement between Mani Libok and Salma Murat. Maybe that is the situation of deciding whether or not a win here is more important or chasing the bonus point. At the end of the day, they don't need the bonus point, though. They're already in a position where no matter what, a win here will get them further up in the standings. I would have thought maybe there would be a chance that they would go for the 3. But that might also be because they're giving Cardiff a lot of respect here, and they're saying maybe they will be good enough to get back in and go scrum kick too difficult. Straight out in front, like about 10 metres out in front of the post was where it was situated. So I don't think it was the difficulty that was the problem for them. And ready for work, cuz. Says Spider-Mick. And there as well. Yeah, just that attack and run forward from Hudson-Berg. And yeah, just trying to push his way over there for Hudson-Berg as well. He's had some fantastic runs throughout this contest already. I'm going to have cheese and crackers with coffee, says Ruth. Vamani, all kicks difficult, although it is Damien Valimza who has taken the kicks today, who's currently sitting 2 from 3 off the kick and tee. They do have the option of voting for man of the match. At the moment, I think that Lilian Zas definitely needs to be up there. Damien Valimza, he's had a solid enough performance from 15 as well here, so possibly a name that could get thrown into the hat. Yeah, just some real nice skills being shown by Valimza. Some really nice attack and runs forward, helping his side to a 7-point lead. At the moment, Lilian Zas is positioned right over near the touchline. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a cross kick here attempted by Mani Libok. Perhaps it won't be on the very first phase, but maybe they run right, then shape up for it. Cardiff have been caught a little bit lacking out wide. Could be the same here, but the scrum is only about 10 metres out from the line, so they could also look to just try and bulldoze this one towards the try line. In fact, a little bit closer, about 7 metres out from the line here. Ball is about to be fed in. It's a big push a little bit early from the Stormers, so they will get them stood back up. Give them another crack. Valimza is pretty sharp, says Ruth. Yeah, the transition from 12 to 15 has been pretty seamless. So that's good. You know, the fact that Valimza, Rassi will probably be looking at that going, okay, well, we can play him at 15, worst comes to worst, or we can stick him somewhere else. Because I don't know whether or not they'd play him as a 12 for the Springboks. That would be one very interesting thing. Why do you think Valimza's doing the kicking? Do they select Mani for his attacking rather than kicking? I'd say so. Plus, I mean, this is Mani Libok's first game back in quite some time, and anytime the man kicks, he gets absolutely destroyed in terms of people just abuse the absolute daylights out of him. So I feel like for the sake of his confidence heading into the playoff games, they need him playing confident rugby, and that's what he can offer when he is attacking rather than goal kicking. That ball's come out the side. Marcel Tennyson going off to the right-hand side here for Herschel Yankees. Now going off to the left-hand side. Low now. Once again, get in there quickly. Teddy Williams having a roll out of that one almost. Could have been penalised. Mani Libok now shoveling the ball on. Short ball, Similani gets it from Dan Duplessis. And the steal is good from Josh Adams. I actually mentioned about how he had a touch in the first minute. And I said it was already as many touches as he had last week. Since then, we haven't seen him touch the ball, I don't think, once. But that was his first big moment in the second half. Getting the steal just out from his goal line. Will the Stormers now regret the choice of not going for the easy 3 that could have given them a 10-point lead here? Josh Adams makes the tackle. Not much of a release, if we're being honest and being critical, but did manage to get that steal. But currently 45 minutes have passed, another 35 to go. And yes, says William Moses, which does mean only 25 minutes until the match between Edinburgh and Ulster starts. So we'll be keeping a bit of an eye on that one as well. Another run from Dan du Plessis going back across to the right-hand side to Herschel Yankees. Damien Valimza with a good fend puts the chip in behind. Leon Zus chasing it, but it just rolls into touch. Didn't quite roll the way that they would have liked. And Adams Welshman. And come on the Stormers, says Trevor. And yes, says Julian Moses. And there as well, but it's a nice kick in behind from Damien Valimza. If that one had bounced inwards rather than outwards, could have been a massive opportunity for the Stormers to get themselves another one. But for now, they are still leading by the 7 points. Cardiff have got possession 5 metres out from their own line to Lupe Falatau. Hasn't really had the biggest game either, I would say, for the Stormers side. I'm being told to use it. Davis, I should say, once again, kicks towards the sideline, but doesn't manage to find touch with the ball. Now Hartzenberg trying to go through. Young Geese, pick and go off JD Schickerling here. Now back across once more. Marcel Tennyson dragged down. Cross to the right. Going for the cross kick. LeBock manages to nail it, and Hartzenberg scores his second out wide in his 50th match. Marnie Libok seeing that one perfectly. I mentioned a cross kick here. I thought it was coming a little bit earlier than it did, but eventually they decided to try it out, and it couldn't have been more to the chest of Hartzenberg if Libok tried. I've said with that man advantage, there has to be space somewhere, and the Stormers just found it. But Marnie Libok going for that kick off the left boot, straight to Hartzenberg. Gets himself another assist in this contest. And Eric Sayers, Spider-Mech, and there as well. And beautiful Stormers. Also, the referee given the warning to Valimza that there's only 20 seconds. 10 seconds now. Okay, so the ref's learnt from his mistake that he made for Cardiff when they were having their kick. He's now starting to tell the players more so how much time is left. Valimza misses that one away to the side. That'll make the score now 24 points to 12. And about good tactical kick, says Ruth. And beautiful Stormers, says Patrick. And come on the Stormers, says Eric. And there as well. And it's a good finish from Hartzenberg. So Min Leleon Zas, as well as Damien Valimza. I think those three are the three at the moment playing for man of the match. Taken again by Dan du Plessis inside of the 22. Well, at least he's learning. Says Lilia B. And Hartzenberg finished off. Says Ruth. Now back across to the right-hand side. Labok boots it down the middle of the field. Finds open space. Cardiff having a retreat. That is a fantastic kick. Way back inside of Cardiff's 22. That kick made about 70 metres. Now taken inside of their own half here. The Stormers, Labok running this one forward. Flicks the pass away to Valimza. And again the break is going to be on. That was close to forward there for Hartzenberg, but it's gone into touch anyway. Cardiff will have themselves the line out. They have to be very careful not to let this game completely slip away from them here. They are still within a chance if they are able to get themselves another try. Cardiff looking a bit winded. Well, that will be because of that first half. Making 87 tackles and missing about probably 13 of them. Brings you close to 100 tackles attempted. My fourth beer. Have to book me in a hotel tonight, says Samuel. Cardiff, bestest Welsh club. Based off rankings, you'd say no, but based off this season, I would probably say they haven't been too bad. But Scarlet's currently sitting above them in the overall rankings. Yeah, great offload from Marnie Libok. Lured in 2 defenders, then flicked it up to find Damien Valimza. And then just running out of space on that short side for the Stormers to be able to run it. Apparently Cardiff once again find themselves inside of their own in-goal area, or at least inside of their own 22. Good attack and run down the wing. Shape for the kick. Ball on the inside to Davis. Nice link-up play here from Cardiff. Should be a try, but he does kick it into touch. Now, I do think that Dimachowski held on to that ball for a little bit too long there. Didn't shovel it out to the winger, and Hamer Webb, who would have more than likely won the foot race. We're going to see it here. That's when the pass needed to go on the outside, but instead went in, and it took an extra 2 or so passes to get it to the winger. If you can still count the Bears, I think he's still good. Says Lilia B, and problem for the Stormers come quarterfinals. They have not played top 4 URC team for more than 2 months. Says Eric. It'll be a bit of a tricky one. Although the last time that they played the Bulls at Loftus, they won, didn't they? So I guess that will give them a bit of confidence heading into their game. Of course, if it is a match in South Africa, if they head into Scotland up against Glasgow, the benefit that they can say is Glasgow are a bit out of form, so maybe that bodes well. They just have to talk themselves into a position of feeling confident going into the game. The roadmap for the final has me seeing Leinster make the final against either Bulls, Sharks, or Stormers, says Reynaldo. And no matter what, you've got a South African side in the final. There is a chance that we could see Stormers versus Sharks, but more than likely will not be the case. Now, grubber in behind from Sheedy, just playing territory. Doesn't work out too badly for the Welsh side there. You need to be the best Welsh team to stand a chance, says a rehash. Also, having 15 men on the field would be helpful, as they're currently still playing with the 14. So to be this close with 14 men, they're probably not feeling awful about how it has gone. Definitely if they can score themselves 2 more tries, that would get them the losing bonus point again for 4 tries or more scored. And then if that gets them within 7, they'll get the 2 points, and that would almost confirm their spot. Although it can still, of course, change. But Herschel Yankees has been taken off the field, and Paul De Vet, he has made his way on. A relatively solid game, Herschel Yankees as a whole. Does get the big hug from one of the men in the coaching box. On back to the side. Davis finds Talupe Falatau. Rush defence from Labok. Almost manages to cut off the Cardiff attack. Jose Dueba ends up giving away the penalty and the breakdown, or at least the advantage for one. Cardiff can throw everything at this now, win it with a nice Salada dummy trying to make his way through, but just not quite quick enough. Davis flicks it out the back door, nicely done across to Dimachowski. And the Bulls versus Stormers. Says Julian Moses, now across here again. Cardiff missing the pass, so they will go back for the penalty. That's going to be against Joseph Dweba. Hands pass, so wasn't supporting his body weight for Dweba in this breakdown. Probably justified in that one, Joseph Dweba. And Bulls versus Stormers. Says Julian Moses. The buck all over the field. Says Roof. He's had a very solid game in that number 10 jersey, but it looks like there is about to be a change. Sasha Feinberg, Ngume Zulu, ready to make his way on. And all South African quarter semi and final, says Spider Meek, although it can't quite be an all South African quarter, seeing as, all South African semi, I should say, seeing as there will be one side that is from elsewhere. Now ready to throw this one in. Even Lloyd not happy with the gap separating the 2 front rows, or the 2 lineouts, I should say. What must happen to have an all South African final? The South African sides just have to win, is pretty much the gist of it. 2 of the teams in the top 8, there are 3. 2 of them just have to make sure they win all their matches. Lilian Zas, nice inside ball to Similani. Lot of space here to be able to work with. Ball on the inside to Paul De Vet, who looks for the offload, and he's given the ball straight back to Cardiff. 2 men in the breakdown there for the Stormers. Wanted to steal for De Villiers, but misses out. Let's see if Sasha has a hit or miss game. says Lilia B. Yep, winning is a key factor, says Drape. The Bulls will now win large tomorrow over Dragons, maybe 18 plus, says Jonathan. And that is one of the games that we are going to be covering on the channel, of course. So be sure to tune in for that. Hamish, you're doing great, keeping us entertained. You're untouchable as commentary king, says Ruth. It's going to be knocked back. It's going to be play on. Cardiff have got the ball back once again. So they are fighting for this at the moment. But that is because they know that their season is on the line. Sheedy going for the kick in behind. Looking for a bit of the extra territory. It sits up now for Hartzenberg. And almost managed to get down the short side. He's gone for the grubber. But it goes straight into the hands of Davis. He will kick it himself. And the penalty. Okay, didn't go back the 10 metres for Marcel Tennyson. So another penalty against the Stormers. There are a few moments that are just going a little bit wrong at the moment for the home side. And Cardiff. The thing is, if they get themselves a win, of course, that would secure their spot. But if they don't get the win, they still need bonus points. So we're seeing them kick for the corner. They need 2 more tries to receive at least 1 point to finish this contest. And it looks like a couple more changes are about to be made for the Stormers. We see Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu making his way on. And then also Connor Evans, the other man. So Labok will be off, but a great game for Labok in his first match back. See if Sasha can have a couple massive moments here. We'll want to get a little bit better in terms of the rating compared to last week's fixture that we saw. He had a few shaky moments. The kicking overall was just a little bit aimless too. But the weeks prior to that, the man was on fire. How much is Hamish paying you? Just joke, absolutely adore Hamish. Says Lilia B. Marnie Libok makes his way off, which gives Sasha 25 minutes to be able to work with. First thing that he will have to do is defend, because the Cardiff side have got themselves the line out about 12 metres out from the line. They go to the middle, overthrown, and Joseph De Weber knocks it back. Sasha Feinberg. Ngome Zulu with his first touch, and he has been bent down awkwardly, almost had his knee dislocated there. Does play halfback now, though. The Stormers managing to get through that early pressure. Being told to use it again now. I know a free game for Love, says Ruth. That one has been cleared by the Stormers. You're about 35 metres out from the line now with the line out opportunity for Cardiff. Just feels like we're at that stalemate currently as it sits. The way that the scoreboard is means that Cardiff would miss out on the top 8. So they still need to find another gear. My man of the match, Marnie, did not miss one kick. Must be a first, says Eric. Now line out throw here for Evan Lloyd. Nicely thrown in. Back across to the right-hand side. Ben Thomas. Tackled by Sasha Feinberg. Ngome Zulu. Cross, yeah. All inside ball attended from to Lupe Falatau. Well picked up by the Welsh. And they are now going to once again have another attacking chance. 25 metres out from the try line. Across to the left-hand side. They've just said Harry Millard. That's the first time I've heard that man's name mentioned. Carter does it for a pick of Hammy's nipples, says Drake there. And also we have got there, the blushing is your payment. What is the ranking comment thing? I actually have no idea, if I'm being honest. Like, it came in as an update this week. I don't know how it works. I think it's still kind of broken. Beautiful pass on the outside. Here for Cardiff in the corner. And they score the try. Sasha trying to get across, but couldn't quite make up the metres. And the try is scored by Cardiff. That is now their third, and they are back into this match. But a big gap being left out wide. Harry Millard, that's the second time now we've been able to mention him. But we see it here. Damien Valimza drifting across. And there's just no one at the back. Sasha trying to cut across. Was short by a couple of metres there. And good morning, Kiwi lad. And Stormers must be careful. Carter finished strong against the Bulls last week. And also, I think they are just checking this one, are they? No, it's going to be cleared. So I was going to say, before we say too much about that try, we better make sure that it is going to be awarded. Cardiff still very much in this, exactly right. Kick has missed away to the side for Sheedy, though, so the separation of 7 points. The international season needs to start already, says Justin. Yeah, we aren't too far away from the July internationals. Yeah, I think Similani went down a bit easily there, so that's possibly why it wasn't awarded as a penalty. Sat down with his arms in the... Oh, no, they're actually going to go back and look at this. Okay. So they've managed to decide that because they showed a replay at the ground and the crowd booed, they're going to be checking this now. Now, why isn't that time moving? Says Briston. It is a little bit every once in a while, but currently it is a head as well, so that's why it stops no try, says Spider-Man. Give it ranks. Commented a lot on the channel and knew it would be a miss kick. But they're going to be checking this one. Checking for the forward pass, I think, is what they're looking for now. See, that's all right. That pass out wide. And looking for a forward pass, says Sakabula. I think that's fine. I think that the direction of the hands was back. I think that in this case, they just seem to be looking for more of a reason not to award it than to just give the try and move on. Austin versus Edinburgh is about to start, says Richard. That is true. Well, they can't turn over a try after the conversion has taken place. Normally you can't. But then I think they had to change that rule because of them doing it even when it wasn't allowed. So now they're checking, Damien Valimza, I mean, all that they've done by checking these is probably given Damien Valimza a yellow card for foul play. So if it had just been a try and everyone was happy with it, they're checking for foul play now. That's kind of turned around for the Stormers because I think they were the team that were asking for it to be checked. And now what's being checked is actually their own player probably getting sin-binned. Well, it is not every stadium has TMO. They look so many times when opponents scored, says Eric. And no arm, says Eric. Not a huge amount of rapping coming from Damien Valimza. So the pass has been cleared, but now the Stormers are in trouble of having a man go to the bin for the next 10 minutes or so. Hamish has a huge fan club and super cool fans. There's Roof there. Oh no, now we're going back and checking for obstruction, are we? What's this TMO doing? He's just all over the place. They've decided to stop looking at the foul play and instead they're going back to check if there's obstruction for something that they didn't look at initially. Okay, there's nothing there. So now they're going to check once again for the foul play. What's the crowd reaction? They're completely silent because they have no idea what's going on. They're checking like 15 things. They're going back now to check the obstruction of Similani, who does the big hands up in the air. This has taken about 3 minutes longer than it should. I'm on 1/3, man. I'm bronze. This is just wasting time. So stupid, says Sakabula. Yeah, like, just, I don't understand why we can't just get on with the game. You know, they've checked that 5 times. They've checked now, or next they'll check the Valimza shoulder, which they're now looking at again. So it seems like the TMO is just picking and choosing what he wants to put on the screen. But they're checking that. Damien Valimza, I believe, will be going to the bin here. Tight game, 7 points lead, says Doc. Okay. It is foul play. He closes his eyes there, Damien Valimza, but he hits him on the jaw. High degree of danger. This might be a rare card. They're checking. This is huge, ladies and gents, because this has gone from the Stormers asking for a try to be checked to them potentially getting one of their star players suspended for the quarterfinals, which is an insane play. They're showing it in real time. It's not great. No clear mitigation. Valimza's going to be out for the quarters. This is a massive, massive moment, but it all came from the Stormers saying, check that one. And now they've got themselves a suspension of one of their key players. This is one of the biggest, backfiring moments for the Stormers. And that's, now not having him, I'd assume he's going to get, even 2 weeks suspension, even 1 week suspension, or 1 match. He's out for the quarters. Perfect example of when to keep your mouth shut, says Lilia B. And the days of celebrating a try after the try has been scored are gone. And red card make it even then. And geez, Hamish, it's like a movie, says Ruth. But Damien Valimza, he's gone from this game. 20 minutes remaining in this contest. There's 7 points in it. And this is ridiculous, says Spider Meek. Yeah, the TMO in that scenario had no control, it seemed. He was just checking everything multiple times. First there was the obstruction check, then there was a forward pass check, then it was back to obstruction, then it was the shot of Valimza, then it was back to obstruction, then back to Valimza. And in the end, the result is a red card and a suspension, more than likely, for Damien Valimza, and he will be out for the rest of the URC. The thing is, as well, if he gets, let's say, a 3-match suspension, which is a possibility because you never know who's going to be making those decisions, that means if the Stormers are knocked out in the quarterfinals, Valimza misses the first 2 tests for the Springboks as well. Nice offload to Sasha Feinberg. Ngome Zulu with the skip pass on the outside to Dan Duplessis. So, that one moment is going to have lasting effects on the Stormers and Springboks team. And it might even be enough for Rassi not to select Valimza in the July internationals. Do you think they would have picked it up if the Stormers didn't ask them to check? Probably not. I think that they would have looked at that obstruction, and that was maybe about it, without being asked. But, yeah, it's the classic example of kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And yes, there was a chance that it could have been a disallowed try, but it's ended up much worse. Now, the Stormers are close to scoring here. Of course, not having Valimza next week could be a big factor on their minds. Who's going to be in that 15 jersey? Do you go Labok 10, Sasha at 15? 2 weeks' time, in fact, it would be. And Bulls can still win this, says Doc Martin. Back across to the right-hand side. Wait, the Bulls or the Blues rather than the Bulls. My misread now. Sasha trying to reach out 2 meters short of the line. Stormers with Paul DeVette sells the dummy, doesn't pass it to Lonell, who did go over the try line from a 100 cap last weekend to possible suspension this week. Says Lilia B. And now, double blow of the whistle here. This sounds like something a little bit serious as well. Number 4 offside. That is against Josh McNally. I've asked this question many times. How and when does the TMO decide what to make a call on or not? There are so many incidents happening. Who makes the call? Says Eric. In that scenario, because Similani felt like he had been obstructed, plus the Stormers felt like the last pass was forward, they asked the ref, you've got to check that. And in the end, they decided to go upstairs and have a look. And in the end, the try was awarded and the suspension was given. Or at least the red card was given for Damien Valimza. More TMO for another check on the ruck from last month's game, says Drape. It looks like we've got a slow motion here as well. Just offside, about 5 meters out. Hamish, are you a Bon Jovi song or a Bill and Ted quote? Out of the two, I don't know what Bill and Ted is, but I know Bon Jovi is possibly the worst official I've ever seen in rugby, bar none. Says Chris, yeah, there is a lack of control when he's at the helm, I do have to say. We've seen it a few weeks ago. There was a game where it really all just ended up just out of control. I can't remember what game that was, but there was one where it was quite bad. And scrums were a lottery. Where do you watch this game in New Zealand? TVNZ Plus is the option. So they show all the South African matches of the URC. Timo, some piece of work. And all right, Amish, long time peace and awesomeness from Ireland, says Nate Dog. Welcome in again. You're doing extremely well. We've got some Super Rugby later on in URC. Close out the weekend, but already we've seen a couple entertaining games. So what's the minimum ban for a red card? Normally 2 weeks is minimum ban if you're not a repeat offender. Or the other thing that it doesn't happen very, very often at all, is they'll say, okay, it shouldn't have been a red, but in this case, they'll say, yep, it should have been, so you can have 2 weeks or 3. And like I said, it doesn't just factor into the Stormers. The Stormers now need to go far in the comp, or else Damien Valimza cannot play for the Springboks for the first couple matches of the July internationals. And Bulls will absolutely obliterate the Dragons tomorrow, says LFG. Currently, we're into the last quarter of this contest. The Stormers have got themselves the scrum feed from only about 5 metres out from Cardiff's line. 20-minute red or full red? Full red. So both sides have now had a red card in this contest. I listen to you from Clarence, says Michael. It depends, Eric, depending if you are South African. Says one beer Bosch. I mean, we saw Jesper Visa at the end of the premiership season. He got 6 weeks, didn't he? And he had to miss pretty much all of the July internationals and some of the Rugby Championship too. Your concern over the Stormers is draw me into the action. Says Rehash. And now popping the ball up here. Paul De Vet under pressure. Being forced back. There is another advantage. So is that scoreboard correct? It is indeed, yes. It's still 24 points to 17. And plead guilty in line in your sentence, says Spider Meek. Then yeah, you might, like, if you plead guilty and it's your first time doing it, you might get 1 or 2 weeks. More than likely 2 weeks, though. Joseph Dueba, that was a bit of a risky offload. Sasha Feinberg, Ungerman Zulu, that's an awful pass. It has gone forward. He tried to do the flick round the back, and it went about 7 metres forward when he tried it. Hutzenberg laughing about it. If it paid off, it would have been a perfect one, but they did have the penalty advantage anyway. Standing up in the scrum for the Cardiff Blues. Under a lot of pressure, even Lloyd. Now, ready to go for the scrum again. Looks like they aren't too far away from making a change here for Cardiff, Johan Mulder. And in fact, it looks like they are going to make the change now. This is once again a very good position on the field for the Stormers, though. And if they score now and convert, I'd like to think they can't lose this game from here, even though, 14 on 14 brings a few uncertainties. You just think that would almost be too much for Cardiff to get, but they will still be chasing at least one more try here, the Cardiff side, because if they get one more try, they get at least 1 bonus point from this game. If they get 2 bonus points from this contest, they have a pretty good chance of still making it through to the quarters, or at least it's their best chance anyway of being able to do so. URC match between Edinburgh and Ulster has just kicked off. As well, we should mention it. If Edinburgh win that, they can make it into the top 8. If Ulster win it, that stops 2 sides, including themselves, from going through. Are we over there? I walked more than 10 Ks this week. How was your exercise, says Rehash? I didn't get to do a huge amount of walking this week, unfortunately. But soon, hopefully. But now, ready to go for the scrum feed again. Paul De Vet ready to feed this ball. And he's been on for about 15 minutes or so since Herschel Yankees went off. As a Munster fan, I want Stormers to pace these guys, says Nate Dogg. Yeah, well, that's the thing. If the Stormers can win by a comfortable margin, that pretty much helps secure only 9 teams with the possibility of making their way through. Is that because of the threat that Benetton can be, Nate? Like, we saw them last week do well up against Glasgow, so Munster definitely cannot underestimate them in that next game, and I feel like they're not going to. They're going to really keep an eye on them. Another penalty goes the way of the Stormers, so what if Ulster win? Would they ruin their chances too? Pretty much, yeah. They don't have enough points to make it through to the top 8, so they can stop the opposition in Edinburgh making their way to the top 8, but they can't get there themselves. Okay, Stormers once again are calling for a scrum as they have won about the last 3 penalties at scrum time. I think that Mulder's first URC cap for Cardiff, says Albert, and Bulls should get Nokia, Honeycomb and Villy out of their team tomorrow because injury or a championship red card can cost you big time in the playoffs. Says Eric. Yeah, it's the last thing that you want at this stage. Damien Valimza, I mentioned about how last year, he had that injury near the end of the season, which ended up costing him the chance of being able to play. Whereas this year, it looks like it's going to be the suspension that does stop him from getting that chance. But yeah, it also, I should mention, isn't the first cap for Mulder. He did start last week up against the Bulls. Mulder used to play for Requas in the Bulls. And might have spoken more than me in your life. And I'm 41 because of your commentary, says Rehash. And that is stupidity, match, fix, loss type area there. The Benetton game will be closer than people think, says Nate Dogg. I think so. I think that Benetton away from home sometimes don't fire, in which case Munster should have a very good chance. All going short side here for the Stormers offloader, but it's knocked on by Lelion Zas, and he doesn't get the hat trick. Cardiff have now got themselves a scrum feed, but they are not out of the woods in terms of pressure that has been coming back at them. You see there, JJ Kurtziev and Ruas both in the stands, watching on for this game. A little bit of nervousness coming near the end of the contest. Got it into Benny. He will make his way on, and that is going to be for Joseph Dweba. Dweba gives the crowd a bit of a round of applause. The last home game for the Stormers, unless something drastic happens in the playoffs and a couple upsets do occur. Hold on to the ball, you egg, says Spider-Mick. We have got there, sorry to hear, Nutella. Says Doc. Did we miss a message, or is that supposed to be Nate? I don't think our Stormers have what it takes to win the URC, says Rehash, and Bulls called off practice yesterday because of the news of Cornell Hendrick's death, says Albert. Yeah, although they are still expected to be able to win comfortably up against the Dragons, so I guess they probably went, like, at this stage, we can't afford to do so. Plus, of course, out of respect for their former teammate. Now, ball is going to be fed in by the Lions replacement half. Or sorry, not the Lions. They're wearing the bright red. But it is Cardiff. 2 weeks in a row that they have been wearing that alternative strip. No more score. LaRue will have a blinder for the Bulls tomorrow. Oh, kick charge down of Mulder. Doesn't go into touch. Lelion Zasi's dropped the ball twice in 1 minute. Now playing with the advantage here for Cardiff. Going back across to the left-hand side. Scud it into Benny, trying to rush up to cut off the defence. Cam Winnett goes on the outside to what would have been Hamer Webb. Straight down the middle of the field. Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu goes for the chip in behind. Chases after it and manages to claim it, and then knocks the ball on though. So it's back in the hands of Cardiff. Did all the hard work of chasing the kick and claiming it. A lot of meters lost here for Evan Lloyd and Cardiff. And the Stormers better win this. See, it's massive. And rolling it back, Mulder again. Will not find touch with it. Those are 2 kicks in a row that he hasn't been able to get into touch, and that could be the difference maker in terms of the counter-attack coming from the Stormers with 12.5 remaining. Paul DeVette goes back to the right. Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu once again goes for the high kick. And, nicely taken by Cameron Winnett. And the game a bit scrappy now. Yeah, there's been a few more handling errors. Both sides not wanting to make that big mistake that cost them a try, but both are also at the same time making many mistakes in quick succession. Kick down the field again from Cardiff. So they have just gone more for the territory battle. Kick downfield from Sasha Feinberg. Ngome Zulu sits up for Cameron Winnett, who's going to look for the 50-22. No one back there. Ball bounces and goes into touch. Sasha not able to cut it off. So that is a fantastic kick from Cameron Winnett. He saw the space. Sasha noticed as well. As soon as he kicked it down the middle, straight into the arms of Cameron Winnett, he knew he had to run pretty much the full width of the field. Tried to keep the ball in, but missed that swap back in. And tripped over the barricade on the sideline as well. Trying his best to be able to cut that one off. And Sasha doing his best to injure himself, says Sakabula. And come on, Cardiff, says Mark. Stormers displaying the reason why they couldn't win the Super Final. Shake my head, says Drape. And let's be friends, says Rehash. And there as well. They are just showing currently the way that it sits. Cardiff would get themselves 1 point from this game. That is for being within 7. But if they score now, they potentially could get 2, if not maybe 3 points from this match. And also put themselves in a position of potentially going on to get the win. Now another line out here for Cardiff. They are inside of the opposition 22, looping around. Finds Ben Thomas. Is tackled by Paul de Villiers. Mulder goes across to the right-hand side again, not getting there in time. Sees Roof is going to be play on, stolen in the breakdown from Ngome Zulu. I believe he bounced it or jumped onto it. Did get the steal, although Cardiff, they've managed to take it straight back, but they give away the penalty in the process. Welsh Dragon fired up, says Ruth. And there's other two sides really trying to work their way towards a victory here. Stormers, no matter what, are through to the next stage. But now, they will be able to kick this one towards the touchline. Have to make sure that it goes out, though. That is the one factor that if it doesn't go into touch, could be a bit of a game changer. So Hudson-Berg at the moment is voted as man of the match. Just for now, Zas is right behind him, 10% less. And then it's Sheedy with 0.5%. Talupe Faletau with 0.4%. Bit unlucky for Damien Valimza, but I guess that red card does make sense as to why he was then out of the running. And out says Ruth and go the Blues. There's Ryan, but now rolling Maul chance here. One more try for the Stormers could take away the point from Cardiff, which would knock them out of the top 8. Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu going across now to Ben Loader. Now running it out wide, Hudson-Berg. He is in touch, or at least I thought he was. Sounds like they've said that he was able to free it up just in time, though, to be able to stop it from becoming the line out. Now, chance here for Similani to chase, but it does go under touch. And go the Blues. And Edinburgh first try, says Ruth. And they're a pretty handy side in the early stages, Edinburgh. We've seen that in quite a few of the games. The only game that they weren't able to do that kind of recently was actually up against Bath. And still managed to fight back a little bit. Currently just the 10 minutes left on the clock now, though. Cardiff are inside of their 22. Going to the front to Michalski, Mulder, back into the pocket. Don't think Rory Jennings. Oh, is that taken into touch by the Stormers? No, it is play on. Now, the fact that the Stormers player looked towards the touch judge makes me think maybe he thought that he had made the mistake. And that is another mistake made by the Stormers. Similani managing to take it back, though. Just realised I can eat Nutella now. And extra time golden points. No golden point, no extra time. A draw's a draw in this comp. And the mark is called there for Cameron Winnett at the back. Carter stuck on 3 tries again, says Eric. And that one extra try could be the difference between them making their way through and missing out. Currently, they've got the 1 point secured for being within 7. Now, kick downfield. Cam Winnett gets a decent kick on it, but doesn't find touch with it. Sasha Feinberg Ngome Zulu kicks it high again. Chasing after it. This time, I believe he's knocked it on, although they say play on. And the offload across there to Connor Evans. I think they might check this, though, to see if Sasha did knock this ball on before getting that pass away. He's claiming it, though. He looks pretty confident that he has been able to score it, possibly back off Cardiff. If this try is awarded, that would take away the bonus point of Cardiff just for now. Right, we're going to see the replay. Sasha chasing after his kick. Goes up for it. That is an interesting one. It looks close to either a knock-on or it's gone back from Cardiff's player. He might have got a fingertip to it. I think that it was definitely more off the Cardiff player, but all that Sasha would have had to do is touch that one for it to be considered as a knock-on, and I don't even think they've checked it. They said, yep, we're good. We're keeping that try going, and it will be the try down for the Stormers. That makes them 29, or in fact 31 points to 17 up. Cardiff need a converted try to get themselves 2 points from this game. I think we got one replay of that one from a wide angle, and that was it. So we're seeing a real lack of consistency, I guess you could say, from the TMO. Now, I do think that, like I said, I think Cardiff got a lot more of a touch on it, if not all the touch. But yeah, quickly got taken away. Now, Stormers looking for the offload. Space opening up again. JD Schickerling up to the halfway line. Great attack and run from the big lock. And that was quick as says Drape. And I agree, TMO dismissal, says Doc. And Sasha Magic says Eric. Yeah, his up and unders have been really strong since making his way off the bench. And he's once again got himself the ball. Cut out pass. Finds Lelion Zas, who's cutting back inwards. And Stormers now blowing up a storm. And the penalty goes the way of Cardiff. No clear release from the Stormers. So this game is still not over, but this is where Cardiff have to find touch. And they've gone for the risk, trying to bounce it into touch, and they do so. About 22 metres out from the line now. This could come down to a kick, and not so much to win this game, but to get themselves the bonus point. And this is for a spot to face Leinster in the quarterfinal. So Cardiff, it's not exactly a dream matchup to have, but could be what is on the cards if they can get themselves back into the contest. Oh, stolen by the Stormers at line-out time. Paul Davilius. Cross now Similani inside of the 22. He's going to look to run it out again. Tackle 45 metres from the Stormers line. Paul Davet with a pick and go. Offloaded out the back door. Sasha around the back pass to Paul Davet. Got isolated and the ball's stolen by Cardiff. Big Fen coming in. And they just don't seem like they're going to give up here. They want that last try. They need that last try or else they can kiss the URC comp goodbye. Sasha taking his time here, trying to work out where that kick needs to go, and he's gone straight down the middle, forcing Cardiff back into their own 22. Now 50-22 attempted. Oh, great kick. Doesn't go as a 50-22, but the territory working well. And show when how Stormers, says Hurlian. Now 25 metres out from their line, the Stormers will have themselves the line out throw. Now, time is off. Our last try, or no last try, boys, says Drape. Yeah, currently 5 more minutes to determine. That's the thing. It all comes down to this moment here for Cardiff. Because if they can score and convert, they'll get 2 points. And that might just about be enough. It's no guarantee that they'll go through. Cardiff's gas finish, not going to get the bonus point. I don't necessarily think that they've run out of puff. In fact, they've actually been the team that's up the tempo in this last little while, and that is because of the, I guess, a little bit of extra aggression and knowing that this is do or die for their season. But, you know, I think both sides are puffing a little bit, but they both seem fresh enough to still go another full field try if they were given that chance. This is where Cardiff are just too tired tackling. Oh, they've got probably more steals in the breakdown in the last maybe 10 minutes than they got throughout the whole rest of the match. I think the Stormers are also being a little bit slow, and they've just got the steal there. I think there was a knock-on from the Stormers, but the ref says, nah, we'll just keep it going. Paul de Villiers now getting over the ball for Cardiff, and they win another penalty. Just no clear release coming. Cardiff are giving themselves a really big chance here, and if anything, they've found about their second or third wind in just this last little while. And Stormers, or Cardiff done here, Stormers to conquer. Yeah, there's no denying that the Stormers should win this game from here. But Cardiff with a converted try will get themselves the bonus points, which is exactly what they need to have half a chance of continuing in this competition. So for them, it's not so much about a win here. Well, I mean, of course, they'd love to get the win. The draw is the most that they can do, though, with 4 minutes remaining. But they'd have to score twice. Thanks, really. I think it will cool things down, thrown into the front. And Cardiff now looking for the rolling maul. This ref totally favours the Stormers, says Ryan. And now rolling forward. Oh, it's gone. I think he was down on a knee. They've awarded the try, but if it's anything like the other decisions, they will check this for 5 minutes to make sure that it is not. I was the referee from Pluto. He's from Italy. But Daff Hughes scores the try. How many tries have Cardiff scored? That is their 4th now, if it is awarded. But I think they might check that to see if the knee was down in terms of that rolling maul. Once again, though, we're only getting the wide angle. This is going to show something here, I believe. Knee was down. They say in the case of the knee being down, he wasn't tackled. So that's why he's allowed to go again, by the sounds of it. But this kick has to go over from Sheedy. If he misses this, Cardiff still need another try or something. And he's got the kick over. Massive moment there for Cardiff. No matter what from this game, they've guaranteed 1 point. Currently, they've got 2. And if they concede again any form of points, they will lose that second one, but they'll still have at least 1 point from this game, which for now will put them inside of the top 8. Cardiff too far to go, says Ruth. Cardiff certainly being more competitive in this game than some first anticipated. For a side that got a red card, had to play it with about 50 minutes with 1 player down. Now, of course, the Stormers getting a red of their own did help them a little bit. Nicely taken by Cardiff inside of their own 22. 1 more converted try, and they get a draw in this game. I think Hamish looks like a cross between Johnny Depp and the ref, or a ref. It says rehash. One's gone into touch. Question is, who is it off? Touch judge doesn't have his hand up. Okay, now he gives the line out to the Stormers. I think he was possibly waiting for the TMO to tell him which way that one was. Our French referee for this match, says Doc. Nicky is Italian, the man in charge of this one. And we have got there, don't think 2 bonus points enough to either need a win to be safe. Yeah, they, of course, would like a win. The best they can do at the moment is a draw here. But 2 points is much better than the 0 that they were getting about 2 minutes ago. So for Cardiff, yes, they may not walk away from this game with as many points as they would have liked to, but those 2 points could be enough. With who is Springboks playing? They're playing the Barbars in their first game, the Barbarians. Currently 1 minute remaining on the clock, and the penalty goes the way of the Stormers. They can line up the 3 here, and that would remove 1 of the points. Now, I believe by the time they make this decision, they can actually wear down the rest of this clock. Yep, they're going for the kicking tee here. They're saying this could be devastating to Cardiff, and the South African commentator was trying not to laugh while he said it. You can tell it's going to be a brutal moment in about 35 seconds if this kick does go over for the Storm as the playoffs next, says Minion. Yes, although we do have the week off next week as well. And our Stormers playing again after this, so they are not confirmed, but they are playing either Sharks or Glasgow in their quarterfinal match in 2 weeks' time. And we should play Sharks, says Minion. Yeah, although it looks more likely to be Glasgow, because Glasgow have Leinster in their last game, whereas the Sharks should beat the Scarlets. And that kick from Sasha has gone over with a couple seconds. This commentator's loving it with Cardiff possibly missing out. Sasha kicking, he did get it over. And why do they do it? Why not the corner? So they are looking to run this one out by the looks of it, the Stormers, or at least put this ball into touch. And they do just that. So Cardiff get the 1 point. They are still, I believe, within the top 8 just for now. But it could change. Usually it's 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, etc. 4 versus Sharks, 5 versus Stormers. No argument there, but the round's not over. The Sharks still have a game. Glasgow still have a game. Leinster still have a game. And so that's why, currently the way that it sits, you're not wrong. It would be Stormers versus Sharks. But I believe Glasgow will lose and the Sharks will win, which will then make it Glasgow versus Stormers, which would be your 4 versus 5 scenario. There's an onions in here. Where's my garlic? We're there. Well, got to swing to work, guys. I love you all, Kiwi lads. Spider signing off, and good night all. Says Bruce. So the next game that we have got will be the match between Moana Pacifica and the Blues. It is going to be taking place in around 12 hours' time. Did Stormers win URC in 2022? So made accomplishment. Yep, they were the inaugural champions. Yeah, I forgot they still got a game. And we have got there, good night all, and thanks so much. Munster vs Benetton is about to start, says Richard. It certainly is. That's going to be one to keep an eye on, as it could be an absolutely outstanding contest between the two teams. Margarita Pizza, says Doc, and Lecker Cardiff, says Ryan, and there as well. Okay, Sheedy just trying to have a conversation with the ref. That will be about that timed out kick from earlier on. In the end, luckily, it still would have put them outside of the 7-point window. So it didn't change things too hugely. So it's Stormers and Sharks? Not yet. Because for that to happen, the Sharks would have to lose to Scarlets. So if they lose that game, then yes, it would be. It makes it exciting that it's down to the last game to decide who's through and who plays who. Says Lilia B. So yeah, there are still the 10 sides that can be through to the quarters. Now we just have to wait that little bit longer to find out who will be next through. Thanks for all your effort. Much appreciated here in South Africa, says Daryl. And we will be back for 2 more games of the URC tomorrow night, or tonight, depending on, it will be tomorrow night actually for you guys in South Africa. And that will be the one between Scarlets and the Sharks. And then also there is the match between the Bulls and the Dragons. Those are the 2 that we're looking to cover. We may even do Lions versus Ospreys, seeing as it is the last game of the season. Night, Hamish. Enjoy sleep. Thanks again for everything you do. Says Ruth. But yeah, nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all for the next one.